Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. About 6.5 minutes into my last upload, I said the Palestinians and the Israelis deserve each other. I was wrong for that. I don't know if anybody can truly earn what the Israelis are doing to them. But I will say this, and I honestly thought that black folks would pick up on the fact that I simply don't think we should tell Palestinians that we sympathize with them. They're not pro-black enough. I mean, according to the standards of our own religion, and most of them are Muslim, a sizable minority of them are Christian. But according to really the standards of both of those religions, they're not pro-black enough. They're not really anti-oppressor enough. I think most black folks know that it's really not smart to sit up and tell non-black Arabs when you sympathize with them. You really can't help but do it. You really can't help but say, you know what, they didn't do anything to provoke the likes of this. But I kind of thought black folks would pick up on this. Someone corrected me, and while he was right, I'm not disappointed in the morality of his message. I'm disappointed in the fact that he would betray such if he knew that that's what was going on. If he didn't know, he didn't know, but we're going to have to start thinking this way. A Palestinian wife of a black Muslim husband said that whenever Palestine goes through it, as black folks that step up and say, yeah, you know what, man, this is wrong. And let's be honest, if it weren't for black folks, do you think that other people would even know that what's going on is wrong? There was a time when the world thought Israel was right. And in every resistance from the Palestinian people was some sort of T word. And I don't mean tourism either. Had it not been for black folks, a lot of people would not ever question any form of white supremacy. Ever, at any point. It would never happen. It would go unchallenged. As it is, it goes unchallenged a lot of times in Africa. And black America, in many ways, it has gone unchallenged. And we black men have begun to find out that many of our resistance efforts against it have been subverted by the very women whom we have preferred amongst all the world's women. We're finding this out. I haven't been able to find much information on this, but I've heard from two different sources about insurance lynchings since 2019. Two different guys have brought up the topic of insurance lynchings. Both of them said the same thing. I couldn't confirm the info from a third source, but they both mentioned how it was that many of these men that got lynched, I shouldn't say a majority of them, but there were more than we think, according to these two men. There were more brothers that we know of being lynched because their wives colluded. Second time I saw it, another man chimed in the comments and said that one of his male ancestors had been betrayed by his wife too. She had an arrangement with them. They were going to come to lynch him. And when he got ready to defend himself, the bullets were wet. They wouldn't fire. He had no means of defense. I'm fortunate because I don't descend from such. My grandmother helped my father escape the town in which they were living when he stood up to the deputy that was flirting with my grandmother. My mother did not betray my father, nor me, nor my brother. I can't say she fully understands a lot of what we know about gender, but she did not betray us. And when she did understood, she told us as best she could articulate. You know, um, there are many of us that are hurt by that betrayal because we have actually loved black women. And many black Muslims have at some point in their life actually developed a love for other Muslims to find out that they would accept that we were their siblings in faith, but they had a distance for us to keep that they did not have for each other to keep. In other words, the Arab and the Pakistani had distances they keep from each other. So they weren't necessarily united, but they both had a distance for us to keep they would not have even demanded of each other. We have found this. And the only time that this has not really been the case has been when it has been us black folks that are Muslim with each other. And that's where you ironically see black unity. Or when it has been black folks and some new Latin Americans that have accepted Islam, or black folks and Southeast Asians. That is where we have, I mean, that's been within Islam and outside of Islam. See, when Helga, the Panay that lives in Canada, said that she was black African American, I was cracking up kind of because she's not, but she was pointing to actual African ancestry in the Philippine Islands. That was not something she made up. Joan Jay said, nope, y'all are my siblings, but I don't have your blood. She got a DNA test done. She's like, I don't have your blood, so I can't claim it. She wanted to be more objective about it. But where did either one of them say something like, oh, hell no, I ain't black? There was no celebration of not being black. No such thing. Here where I live, many Arabs will show evidence of having had black blood, and they will certainly imitate us at certain times, especially the young ones. But if you tell them they're part Turkish, they'll say yes. Even if they don't like the Turks today, they'll tell you that they're part Turkish. If they think they are, they're part Persian, and they don't get along with the Iranians, but they'll tell you they're part Persian. But you tell them they're part black. And while the young ones might say that would be an honor if it was true, the elders would say, don't slander me. The man that corrected me meant well. His intentions were good. But we've entered into an arena, an area right now in which when we actually do sympathize with them, we shouldn't tell them. It's not true that they actually deserve the Israelis, but it is true that they have provoked a punishment from Allah. I'm not so sure it's this punishment because you got a lot of innocent ones, mostly innocent, paying for sins they did not commit, paying for crimes they did not commit. Because the nation oppressing them, which is unfit to be called by the name Israel, rather the Ashkenazi and Khazar imposters, the nation of Ashkenazi and Khazar imposters is murderous. They are barely human themselves. That's why they can't see the humanity in the Palestinians. They don't even see it in people that have returned to that land due to religious beliefs that they share with the majority of the Ashkenazi and Khazar people, or they share the faith that the Ashkenazi and Khazar claim to have. The irony of it is that those that are most in support of and those that are the most against the war and the oppression against the Palestinian people come out of some of the most orthodox circles of the faith they claim. And that is because there are those who say, look, we are not supposed to have a state because we botched it the last time we had one. We ruined that. The Romans were punishment because of the way we were behaving. They've said this. And even if they don't take the Messiah as a prophet, peace be to him, they still say he did call out the corrupt of the priest, the corrupt of the Kohanim, the corrupt of the Sadducees and the Pharisees. He called them out and they fought against him and they betrayed him to the Romans in favor of a murderer. That they cooperated with the Romans to put an innocent man on what their version of the electric chair at that time was. Then there are the others on the opposite end of that political spectrum, but also claiming orthodoxy, saying, no, this is a theocracy and we are not to share any of this territory with anybody except their complete subjugation, their enslavement to us and nothing else. They are not human. They have no rights. We're bound to respect. Does that sound familiar? And they say this because they come from communities that are actually exempted from the military service. So they're the most war hawkish, and it is the secular among them that have to join the army. They're not exempted, and they must carry out these orders. And I don't excuse them either, because they know dodgam wucking fell what they're doing. To live there, you have to participate. To live there as a citizen, you must participate in the oppression of an entire group of people. Let's be honest, we black folks can't help but sympathize because of what's going on. The limits of our sympathy are largely determined by the limits of our knowledge of the details of what they face, and that knowledge is limited to us like it is to the rest of the world. Most of us don't know that they bombed a church that's 2,000 years old, or that they bombed a hospital, or that the government of that area told Palestinians, we will leave the West Bank, go there, and you can take these roads. We're not looking there. And when they fled, that location and those roads were bombarded by the military of a nation that took on a name they don't deserve, neither genetically, nor spiritually, nor religiously, according to their own rules. We black folks can't help but sympathize, but we also have to understand something. We can't afford to tell them this. Their youth are different. They're idealistic. They mean well in many cases, but they're beholden to their elders, and the elders are concerned with whoever's lighter skinned and not with us. They still call us Zanuj and Abid, one of which means the N word and the other which means slaves. That is their default for us. They even say this about black Palestinians themselves. If one of the kids makes jokes about a black Palestinian, they'll say, stop making these jokes or God will make you like them. God will make you like them. What the F? It's not like having one leg or one arm or something. It's not like that. If that's what it was, I would have cracked all kinds of jokes about black folks in the hopes that God would have made me darker when I was a kid. As an adult, I'm fine. I'd say from about 4th to 6th grade, I would have made all kinds of jokes. I would have been all right with it. But you know what? I don't have to tell you. I don't have to tell you how it is that they tend to talk. And the thing is that it's not even with a hatred. Your average Arab of any age does not walk around with a hatred of black folks. They don't conceive of it. And they don't think that the U.S. is even normal for the way that they discriminate. They think the U.S. is obsessed. And even other white nations to a certain extent, but definitely the U.S. A lot of them don't know they're racist because they think of racism as an American phenomenon. And a few years ago, when I was in the kingdom, a lot of them thought that racism was over. They're dumb stuff. They sounded just like Western white folks in their ignorance a lot of times. Just by default. That's the Arab, and the Palestinian is not an exception. That's why I've been getting on Amira. And I think that Courtney Michelle had one valid point, and I saw Amira sit up and lie, act like she ain't know what was going on. I ain't met a non-black Arab yet that dares sit up and tell me that they don't call us, or that their people don't call us slaves. casually, not even literally meaning the word slave, which is the literal meaning of the word slave, but thinking that that word slave applies to us, like we were the only ones to ever be enslaved. They don't dare tell me that when they see me face to face, because they know that I would have heard it anyway. They know this. They know what I'm talking about, because they know that whoever said it in front of me didn't know I was black. They know this is like, oh, well, he caught somebody with their pants down. Ain't no use in lying. When Courtney Michelle did ask Amir about this on the panel, Amir acted like she ain't know what the what was going on. Amir knows. She even sat up and said, one of the reasons that non-black people don't want to mix with y'all is because your genes are so strong. So that means that Amir actually knows about a worse attitude that many Lebanese have than what many Palestinians have. One man did an experiment in Palestine, and mind you, keep this in mind, the West Bank and Gaza have both been under siege. Both of them. They both have been. Food stopped from coming in. Water, medicine. It's a miracle, really, that they haven't all starved and dehydrated to death by now. That in and of itself is a miracle. But let's look at what happened there. There was a man, I think it was I don't know the race of the man that ran this experiment, but he went in there with a $100 bill and offered it to anybody that would be willing. And he had the flag and he had the lighter. He said, if you will burn this flag of Somalia, I'll give you this $100. And the people looked and they said, no. My wife told me about this. They said, we were not going to burn the flag of our brothers and sisters that did nothing to us. So this means they don't walk around with a hatred. That's the thing. It doesn't take hatred to be racist. It doesn't take violence to be racist, especially against us. It's just that many people who are not us have this assumption that everyone else who is not us is going to understand the same underlying attitude that we're not normal. That's not hatred. That's not violence. It's still bad enough. And for that, because Palestinians say that they are either Christian or that they are Muslim. And they know that they're not supposed to be racially discriminatory as Christians. And as Muslims, we have a very high standard against that. Very clear cut. And what this means is that they failed according to their own rules. They failed according to their own religious beliefs. Both of them, they failed. So I admit I shouldn't say they deserved the Israelis. But I can say that they have provoked God himself. Yes, just for being racist against black folks. Yes, just for preferring the oppressor in image or in any other way over those whom they have oppressed. Yes, just for that alone, they have earned the wrath of God. See, we black folks will admit that we have earned the wrath of God when it comes, if we know that that's what it is. We will admit that we have done this. How many black Christians will sit up and say that Haiti is still suffering because of deals with the devil that were made when they went and butchered the French? Now, I don't think that there was some organized thing like that, because there was no group that said all Haitians must enter into, or all Africans at that time must enter into some sort of covenant with the devil. Nobody sat up and said that, as far as I know. As a matter of fact, Makandal, if I'm not mistaken, was it Bookman? I think it was Bookman. One of the key figures of the beginning of that revolution was actually rumored to have been a Muslim. So it seems to have not been of any religious solidarity, that Haitian revolution, that gave the French who dared remain on the island their just deserts. And there were French and Poles and other whites that stayed on the island and did not get slaughtered because they didn't help oppress the Africans. And that's not even mentioned. You know, just these angry Negroes rose up and started killing these good Catholic white folks. That was the narrative that was spread around, even in the U.S., as if Protestant United States really cared about Catholic Haiti at that time. They didn't. But when it came to that, boy, that racial solidarity showed up. And we black folks are sitting up and looking and seeing this in other folks that aren't even white. And we black Muslims are seeing this in other Muslims that ain't black or white. And this does bother us, naturally so. We're human and we're not amoral, let alone anti-moral, so we can't help but sympathize with them. But let's be smart and not tell them that. Let's derail the conversation the same way they've done when we bring up black issues. Let's derail them every time and start bringing up black issues again. They want to bring up Palestine. Yep, we could have told y'all that was going to happen. What do you mean? Well, I mean, let's just imagine a bunch of, Ugandans of that particular Old Testament faith had tried to resettle there at one time. What would have happened? And they're all free. They're not owned by anybody, and nobody, your complexion, can tell them what to do. What the hell would you all have done? What if the Lemba from South Africa, with their Old Testament beliefs, all of them at one time decided to return? What would you have done? Yeah, it's that bad. So do they deserve each other? No, Palestine doesn't deserve that. Can we afford to tell them the depths of our sympathy? Not really. No. Because they will forget. There will be things that we go through. We don't know about it all the time, so they really won't know. I'm not even blaming them for that. They don't know. But there will be times when they hear about it and they'll still forget. Let's just call it what the hell it is. How often do they forget about the Rohingya, let alone the Central African Republic? It's not hatred. Hatred's not necessary. But there are times you simply have to fight people's subconscious biases with a dismissal of them and their concerns. You figure it out yourself. You're not ready for this alliance. And it's okay to even tell them, well, an alliance would have been great, but y'all just ain't ready for it. Come back and see us when you're actually ready for a sincere alliance. So to that brother that wrote that correction to me, thank you. But I thought you would have known that really I just wasn't ready to sit up and admit in front of Arabs the depths of our sympathies. And to the rest of you, don't admit this to them. Thanks for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, black out, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. And thank you for flying again with us on Jet Black Airways, where jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with a capital B and 4 A's in the middle, an exclamation mark at the end. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. May God's justice last forever.